investing in future. All right, guys. Well, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everyone who tunes in. And I'm very happy and fortunate to have Cale Thomas on with us today. Welcome, Cale.
Thank you. You're too nice.
so yeah, Cale, I'm sure most of the realtor community and just for anyone else who's watching. So Cale Thomas, he's been a realtor here in our community for a long time, longer than me. I didn't realize that. How long have you been doing real estate in the area?
So I'll say on and off since 98 is when I first got my license, but I did a stint in lending, and a lot of that was up in Orange County. So I went up to one of the call centers, was Tricor Mortgage, who is, long story short, I worked for Anthony Shea, who now runs Loan Depot.
Oh.
And anyways, did loans for years, got my broker's license to specifically do loans right when you were getting in, right when the market crashed. And then through some contacts I had, worked some REO accounts up in the high desert and all that through the 2008, 2011 period. And then just transitioned back into full circle, back into just selling homes.
Dang. So obviously a lot of real estate. Was that right out of high school or college or what?
College. Yeah, college.
98. Okay. So that's pretty much, I guess that's right around the time that I graduated from high school. So you've been around the real estate game, whether it was in lending or just real estate, I mean, still for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I mean, just really quick, just kind of curious, like what attracted you to real estate rather than the lending side?
I'm going to just be totally candid. It was like panic mode back then. So I think it was kind of like, I just went out on my own as a broker, lender, and then the market just was really strange and it completely shifted overnight. So it was kind of like, I have a real estate broker's license. What can I do to survive right now? It was literally about like survival and paying the bills and, Craigslist, like Bob Cadez has a bunch of REOs and I'm going to call him and see if he'll let me advertise them on Craigslist. And then I'd get buyer calls off Craigslist. It was stuff like that. So it was almost out of like panic that I got it back into the real estate side. And I was always really, I'm an introvert by nature for sure, 100%. And so real estate sales face to face was like really terrifying for me as a younger person. And getting back into real estate wasn't like my first choice, but it was like, well, I have a license, I can do this. No one's hiring for anything, so I might as well see what I can do. And I really ended up enjoying it a lot. And it was just about hustling to get out to the properties, clear your schedule. If someone wants to go see something, just go show it to them. I think you were doing a lot of the similar types of things during that period. It's like, you would get calls on REOs, you'd run out, open the door, and more than likely you'd probably write an offer for that client.
Totally, yeah.
So there's a little bit of that.
Sorry.
No, it's just kind of like out of necessity, got back into it, but just ironically really enjoyed it. And I liked it better than lending because I really did enjoy the people part of it, which ironically was the thing that scared me the most when I was younger. But I just like dealing face to face with people and touring the homes. Is just kind of fun. It's always something different.
I'd imagine on the real estate side compared to lending, it's a little bit more dynamic too.
Absolutely.
Just with regards to the number of things you're doing, it's not just like, I feel like, and I could totally be wrong, but I feel like on the lending side, like, yeah, you're crunching a lot of numbers, you're having to gather documents and figure out scenarios and all of that stuff. But whereas on the real estate side, it's like figuring out marketing, how to get clients, how to show them homes, how to prep a client, how to like system, like, oh my gosh, I feel like there's so many things that on the real estate side, whereas the lending side is probably just not quite so dynamic.
100%. I think like essentially you and I run marketing companies.
Yeah.
We just happen to market real estate products. And then by nature, you do so many deals, you have no choice but to learn real estate forms. So you get good at those by repetition. But yeah, it is a lot more dynamic. You never know what you're going to get or what you're going to walk into. And another thing is like, God bless our lenders because they deal with a lot on our behalf, like getting all of the documentation from people that really don't want to send documentation to them and walking them through why they're paying thousands of dollars for all these line items. I mean, they do a lot of the hard conversations that we don't have to get into.
Yeah.
And we get to kind of, we're there during the emotional times, good and bad, but there's a lot of like, oh, you found the right house, and your clients are just elated and so excited. No one calls their loan officer like elated to fill out a loan application. So the lenders, thank you for what you do.
Yeah, it's funny. You make me feel a little guilty. Like, I feel like sometimes like we're just like, get it done. Like, depending on who the lender is, it's like, just get it done. What's taking you so long? And we can be kind of so hard on them or maybe I'm speaking for myself, but we can be kind of hard on them, like just in terms of following up and being on top of things and following guidelines and all that stuff. That's funny.
Like they're subject to IRS liens and, payoffs from the IRS and just stuff. Like I have no desire to sit on the phone with the IRS and get a payoff. I don't have anyone on my team do that, but that's the type of stuff they do for us.
Yeah, totally. Hey, Bridget, Gloria, Amber, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate your support. So tell me one other quick thing before we jump into the market. What I'd love to just hear a little bit more about just when you got in and really more on the real estate side. Just curious, just because I don't know if I've ever really asked you this before. What did it look like that first year you got in? And I know you said you're a bit of an introvert. Like, was it hard that first year? Did it take a few years to really get things going? Or were you able to hit the ground and were you killing it from year one?
I wouldn't say I was killing it. I made decent money. I mean, I'm trying to think. I still had a little bit of loan business spilling into it, but I think on the real estate side, maybe I made 80 grand in GCI. I didn't spend a lot in marketing, so I kept most of that. But I'm a slow starter, admittedly. I'm always kind of like late to the party on a bunch of stuff. But one thing that I'll do is I'll do it for years and years and years. So like, I'm not the best realtor in the world, not the best marketer in the world or any of that stuff. But once you do something several hundred times, you can't help but get better at it. And I don't think I really hit a good stride until I was in the business for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And then I kind of felt like, oh, this is a career. Like we can make this work.
Dang. Well, geez, I think that's still pretty good. 80 grand first year in real estate. I would say most realtors that jump in, like, I think that's better than most. It's definitely better than what I did my first year. And I like to talk about this and even ask other realtors about this, because I feel like, especially the new realtors, or even if you've been in the game for maybe a few years, is like a lot of people think you jump in and then just all of a sudden you're just killing it after year 1 or 2 or whatever. And what happens most of the times, and including myself, first year, I would say, I don't think I even hit 50,000 in GCI. And second year, I was maybe at 70, 80. And it wasn't until really my third year that things really started picking up. But I think the reality with most realtors and maybe similar businesses is like, you got to put in the work for a long period of time to really start seeing those real results.
100%.
And where things get a lot easier. So sounds like for you, it was kind of the same. Sounds like you had a little bit of a quicker start, but at the same time, you just continued to cruise and kept at it, and you're a creature of habit and continue to kill it.
Well, keep in mind too, I think you were stepping in cold,
True.
right? I at least
Yeah.
had a lending background. So it was easy for me to talk to people about down payment and what your payment would look like and considerations for taxes. And like, there's a lot of things that like I already kind of knew that so it was an easier conversation for me to jump in and start talking about these things. But I agree, man. I think like there's a lot of realtors out there that really like kill it at year 10 or 12. And there's definitely people that have amazing performance in their first and second years. But it's hard to build a really consistent big business year over year unless you've been in it for a while, because I think that client database becomes so important to that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I look at people like Dick and Kathy Rainey that have been around a long time. A lot of the folks over at Rancon, like Nancy Hughes, and there's some others over there that Barbara Walker's another one that comes to mind with Coldwell. They just have like their database is so deep, and those clients, they've been with them for years. So they bought a first-time property, then they bought a move-up property, then they built a custom home, and it's nothing for those guys to knock out just astronomical volume year over year. I wouldn't say it's effortlessly, but because they've built it up over a long period of time. But to have those kind of numbers, I think you have to build it up over a career.
For sure. But I feel like that's one of those mistakes that some agents make is they don't realize how important the current clients, past clients, and their sphere is, to where they're focusing a lot more of their energy on all of those shiny objects that they see, whether it be Facebook lead generation or maybe the Zillows or Opcity or any of those other types of lead generation systems, when the reality is those are great, especially early on in your career.
Agreed.
But I think there should always be more focus on just your sphere, the people your past clients. And if you do focus there, like you said, you'll become one of those Rancon agents or whoever's been in the business and just has a really strong base. And after 10 years, it's a lot easier. You start to see the fruits of your labor, because all of a sudden you've got a base of 400, 500 people that know you, trust you, like you.
Yeah.
They know they can count on you. And guess what? Your business is going to be to that point to where you don't have to even deal with those leads that are maybe not quite the best quality and you're chasing them. You could focus more on those high quality leads, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think like that know, like, trust, that whole BNI acronym, the trust thing is just so important, because if you have a past client that calls you, they've dealt with Tyson before, they know what to expect from you. The best call you can get on a referral is like, "Hey Tyson, it's Cale. You worked with me a couple years ago. I hope you have time to work with me. I was thinking of selling my house." Like that's just such an awesome thing to hear, as opposed to, "Yeah, I saw you on Redfin, and like, what are you going to do for me?"
Totally. Oh,
kind of
night and day. That's a good example. Night and day, totally.
So that's it's just a cool place to operate from. And then we're having a lot of fun on our team, like really digging into the database and like, how can we just make our clients feel really good? How can we connect with them? What do they need from us, non-real estate related? That stuff has just made such a world of difference. You're the one that got me to build a team, by the way.
Oh shoot!
I think we were having Indian food one day, and I think I was telling you like I just bought Realtor.com leads or something, and you're like, "Do you have an assistant?" And I said, "No," and you're like, "You should not spend money on leads, and you should spend money on an assistant." And then I was like, "What? Why would I do that?" And then when I finally got the building a team concept, it was like, oh my gosh, now I can really take care of people better. And those are better leads.
Totally. Did you notice increase in volume at that point? Like you felt like naturally or kind of organically, I guess you could say, like your business just started increasing?
Yes. And it was, I think what it was for me, and it almost seemed effortless, which is really strange to say, but what it was for me, it was like, there's all these things you're supposed to do with your database. Like A, make a database. B, pump content out to your database. C, send birthday cards, do Christmas cards, do all the stuff you're supposed to do. When you can turn that over to someone and have them be in charge of doing all that stuff, and it's just so consistent, for me, that was like a big breakthrough, because maybe 6 or 8 months down the road after I started doing that consistently, it was just like my phone just started ringing. Hey, Cale, it's, so-and-so. I haven't talked to him in 3 years. Hey, you just sent me, a birthday card and we're getting your letters. And I felt like they felt a lot more connected to me, and I felt a lot more connected to them when they would call. And it was just so much inbound traffic, so many inbound messages and calls. And it was like I could sift through that stuff and find more business than I could chasing after other types of leads. So it was just incredible.
Wow, love it. I mean, yeah, that's huge. I feel like that's something everyone has to like really think about, what Kel was just saying, just in terms of when you shift that focus really into our current clients, our sphere, and people we know, your business will increase, and it's a better business, right? Like again, kind of like what you were saying with the Redfin lead compared to like a past client, like that's totally different. Like that Redfin client is looking for, what can you do for me? What's the best deal you can give me? Whereas that past client, they know you, they know you're going to give them the best advice possible and that you're going to care about their situation. And those are the best clients to work with, hands down.
Totally, because you have that trust with them too, and you trust them that they're a good client, and you want to do the best you can for them.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay, shoot. Well, Kel, thanks for sharing a little bit more. I was just curious about a few things, just about how you got started and stuff. I think it's a good way to really learn, and I think if we all kind of build our business in a way where we're just thinking more long term, creating systems and things, like we can all find more success. And I think you're a great example of that, because you're well respected in the industry. You do well year after year, and all realtors love you. So thanks for sharing that. We've already gone like 20 minutes, so let's
let's get into it.
Let's jump into a few of the market stats. I know you wanted to share a couple things or it sounded like you wanted to share a couple of things just with regards to the market. So I'll kind of let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, if you would, I'll share my screen. I'm going to go to MLS, and I know it's a little bit of a thumbnail size, so I'm going to talk everyone through what we're doing here. So, long story short, my team tracks inventory for me on a few specific communities, and I just felt like inventory is such a big part of the story right now, as far as what's going on with real estate. And I'm going to give Gene Wunderlich props on this one, but he always usually cuts the market at the $1 million mark and looks at stuff $1 million and up, and $1 million and below, and then breaks out those stats separately. So I'm going to pick on Temecula for a second. But if I go to, got ahead of myself, active Temecula, any price point, there's 98 homes for sale, which in and of itself is super, super duper low. Like there should be 300-400 homes for sale at any given time. We're at 98, but this is where it gets really kind of interesting. I'm going to use 700 today because I think it's just so dramatic. If you look at 700 and under in the city of Temecula, which is an active homes, there's only 24 on the market. Check this out. If we go active, under contract, and pending and take out active, there's 150 homes in escrow right now under 700. So in a roundabout way, we could say the market is eating up about 150 homes in a 30-day period. We have 29 for sale in that, 24 for sale in that price range. Like it's just such a dramatic seller advantage, I guess is the way to say it right now. There's so many people that want to buy homes. Rates are so low, and there's just not that many homes for sale right now. So it's pretty incredible. If we look at the $1 million, my eyes are so bad. Did I do that right? $1 million plus market in Temecula. That's 49 homes. 49 out of 98. Half the homes basically are above $1 million. And if you do that same, let's look at it the same way. Pending and active under contract above $1 million, there's 24. There's only 24. But if you want to buy one right now, you got 49 options. So that's a little more balanced. We're eating up 24 homes above $1 million every 30 days, but there's 49 options. So we got a couple months worth of inventory. On that below 700 mark, though, it's so competitive. It's just nuts.
Dude, it's great. Dang, that's interesting. I haven't really looked at the above $1 million mark, but I have noticed that, like, even on those higher priced homes, I guess you could say, let's say 700-800 plus, I've seen so much more activity on those homes in 2020 and 2021 than I think I ever have seen in my career. I know that Shara from our brokerage just listed a home in Terracina in South Temecula for $1 million. Really beautiful home for $1 million. It's in a Lennar community, but it's totally decked out for $1 million, and she's already got multiple offers in a matter of I think she just went on the market. But wow, that is interesting. We're talking in the 20s in terms of inventory currently active, and probably half of those plus have offers on them already.
They could. That's true too. They could have offers, but they just haven't pulled them off the market yet. You know, above 700, there's 74 options. And this is another thing I noticed as well. I won't show a graphic for it, but I'll just explain it. My team, I have them cover a few communities. One of them's Morgan Hill, one's Crown Hill, Wolf Creek. We do Harveston, and we do a few others throughout Temecula. What we noticed is Morgan Hill's carrying the most inventory right now. They have like 5 homes as of yesterday, but their homes start at 702, 704 was the cheapest home I could find in Morgan Hill. And so that 700 to $1 million price. I mean, there's one in Morgan Hill in the Frogs Leap offshoots, and it's priced at 1.395, so almost $1.4 million for a tract home. And I know one next door to it just went off market at about 1.2, 1.3, somewhere in that range. So pretty incredible, dude, that these homes are going for that much money.
That is, no, that's crazy. What do you think the reasoning behind that is? I know Ernie asked the question, which I'll just throw this on, and I think it's a common question that we do get is, or let me see if I can show that. There you go. What are your thoughts on why inventory is so low?
How cool is that? You can show that. I think personally, rates is probably the biggest factor to it. And to say something else about that is I do think when the feds raise rates, it's going to put downward pressure on home prices. So to say that another way, or to simplify that, if my max budget was $3,500 a month, and at 3%, I could buy I'm making numbers up. I could buy a $600,000 house. But at 2.5%, I can buy a $650,000 house. My payment's the same either way. I just want a house, and I know if I have to rent, I got to pay about that much anyways. I just want to buy instead of rent, so I'm going to put my best foot forward because that's what I have to do. I'll pay you $650. I would have paid you $600 when rates were lower or higher, and now I'll pay you $650. So I think people are really payment conscious. And if they can make the payment work for them and they can own a house, the price is Not that it's irrelevant, but it's less important than payment.
True. Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the most important factors. Do you feel like because of COVID and people being able to work virtually now, do you think that plays a factor in terms of just more out of area people moving to the Temecula Valley?
Yes. Me personally, it occurs to me I've had more clients come up from San Diego or over from Orange County or down from LA and purchase here. I'm seeing a lot of people that have been in our area for a long time going out of state maybe to get a little more land, a little more space. They feel like they're going to be working from home, so they want a bigger house. They want more separation from their neighbors. These are the types of things that I'm seeing. At least these are the conversations my buyers are having. How about for you guys? Are you seeing a similar trend?
Huge. I feel like a good number of buyers coming, even from Northern California. We've had a handful
Yeah.
coming down to the Temecula Valley, and so a lot more than in the past. So I definitely think we see just having a lot of people move to that area because it's no longer quite as important to be in the city, to be in San Francisco, to be in San Diego, Los Angeles, or anything, because I can work remotely. I can work from
Right.
anywhere. So why not move to an area that is nice yet affordable and has good schools, you know?
So there's one other thing that I think our valley, I want to get your take on this. I've always thought that our valley, our prices are artificially low because we are annexed in with Riverside County and our loan limits are only what they are. Meaning if you go across the border and go to Rainbow or Fallbrook, you can get a lot more firepower on a loan because of higher loan limits. But we're subject to the Riverside County loan limits. And therefore, even though we have great schools, arguably, I think the per capita income has gone up in Temecula. There's a pretty affluent base here now. It's a great place to live. You've got a lot of amenities, but those loan limits kind of keep a lid on prices, so to speak, I believe. But if we were annexed into, say, San Diego County or something like that, I think the values here would go up. Or if our loan limits would go up, I think the values would go up.
Yeah, no, I think for sure. I mean, I think that in past markets and even current markets, we've definitely seen, I feel like some people kind of stay within certain budgets exactly because of that, right? And so, yeah, so I definitely agree. I think I've seen that, or we've probably seen that for years, kind of
Yeah.
limit the amount that the area would appreciate and stuff. But it's also interesting, like we were talking about right now, is like all these people coming from San Diego, Los Angeles, and even Northern California. I have a few clients currently that are like pre-approved up to like $1 million, and it's like hands down, they're like, oh, no worries, yeah, let's just offer 950, because they're coming from these markets where everything's like $1 million to $3 million, and so
Right.
buying something for 950 to them is like, oh,
It's like a
no
deal.
big deal. Like,
Yeah.
this is amazing. So interesting. But cool. I love the take on the market inventory. We only have a couple minutes left. I know there was, what else did we want to hit real quick?
I think there was some sort of investing in your future topic.
All right. Investing in our future. And I think that's it. I mean, I know Bridget came up with some of these topics, but I think that's
Good job,
always
Bridget.
an important one. I know Bridget's awesome. I always give her a hard time before these calls because I'm like, okay, so let's see, what are we talking about, Bridget? But yeah, I think that's a good, like, investing in our future. Like, that's a big one I love to talk about, just because I really feel like most of us, including myself for many, many years, like, there were many years where I was doing really well. And you could say even 10 years into the business, looking back and on how much money I had made over the years, and then looking at my assets and I guess you could say my net worth, and I'm like, what, like, seriously, what
Where'd
have I
it
been
go?
doing? Like, where
Yeah.
is all this money I've been making for all these years?
Yeah.
And so I think this is a huge topic for us all to really think about, because I feel like only maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I really realized it and started taking it more serious and just truly like being more intentional about investing in my future, like thinking about those things, like how am I going to continue to create income? How can I create different sources of passive income through real estate, through 401k, through investments? Like, and until I became really intentional, I have nothing to show for it. And so I think it's definitely one of those topics that's important to bring up time and time again,
Yeah.
hoping that it at least hits a few people out there to where they start thinking about it. And because it's once you start thinking about it and really creating plans around it, that you really start seeing a big difference to where it's like, oh, now I have, whatever it is, 5 investment properties generating a few $1,000s in income. Now, after being really intentional and saving 15% of my income, 5 years later, now I have whatever, $250,000 in my 401k or whatever else. But none of that would happen unless you really were intentional about investing in your future and figuring out ways to put your money to work. That way, when I'm 50 or whenever I want to retire, I'm not looking back and like, where's all my money? What am I going to do?
I think it's just like, A, you have to have a plan for it. B, you have to put something in motion around that. Even if it's just, I'm going to open up an Acorns account and drop, $100 a week in there, or whatever it is, treat it like an auto debit. Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't even know how much I spend in monthly subscriptions to things, like BombBomb, and I have an Adobe subscription for our art guys. And I don't know, there's just so much stuff, like, but a lot of us don't save any money. And we don't have a retirement plan that you get with your, Association of Realtors membership. So it's totally up to us to set aside something or build that future. But I agree with you. It's the conversation, and it's that constant conversation. I think you have to always be talking to yourself about these things, or else we'll get busy and move on to something else.
Totally. Or waste that money on something that we just don't really need, whether it be, or, just maybe not that we don't need, but that's not necessarily a priority, right? Like,
right.
It's so easy to waste money when you're making good money, but then if you're wasting that money, then obviously a few years down the line, you have nothing to show for it. Market shifts, and all of a sudden you're just trying to catch up and stuff. And it seems like, especially us realtors, we have a very big problem in the sense that, like, when we make money, we're not that great about saving it, but we're great at spending it. Let me tell you, that's when all of a sudden you see all these guys with trailers and ATVs and boats and all sorts of things like that. And it's like, anyway, I kind of think of like some of the Dave Ramsey teachings of how important it is to save 15% automatically going into investments, whether it be a 401k or a Roth IRA or just a traditional IRA or anything like that, putting into mutual funds and things like that. But we have to create those good habits. And obviously, the sooner we do that, the better off we're going to be in 5 years and 10 years, 15 years down the line.
Totally. And I love the automatic part of that. I don't know. I found the most success in my life when I put things on automatic. Like, I pay someone to do my video blog article writing for me because it's automatic. And he'll pick a video off my YouTube page and do it and send it out to my past client database. I pay for consistency. So why wouldn't I just make things automatic on the investment side too, and just know that that's just dripping in there? I'm not even going to think about that money. It's just automatically going to go in there.
Totally. I think I'm brilliant. I mean, I think it sounds like that's kind of the way you do your business too, but like that's really the easiest way to create wealth is just kind of making it just that automatic thing. It's kind of like we have our payroll and I just have X amount that's being thrown into the 401k every pay period. And it's like, I just don't see that money. It's just going straight to savings. I don't have to think about it. I just have to adjust my, I guess, how would you say it? Just the amount I work based upon like, hey, am I still cash flowing? Am I still, are my bank accounts growing and all that good stuff? But I think it's important for us to definitely automate as much of our business and our future as we can, in order to truly, see lots of success in, I guess, that part of our lives.
Yeah, totally. Because we just get busy, and if it's on our to-do list but it's not a high priority, we're probably just not going to do it. So just set it and forget it. But you have to do something. You got to take some sort of step.
Totally. So okay, well, let's wrap it up. We're already saying we're way past, but I want to end it with one last nugget from Cale. Just within your real estate business, and a question I love to ask just any realtor is like, in retrospect, now that you've been doing it and you've been doing it well for so many years, if you were to start over in real estate in a new market, what are some of the things you'd be focusing on to grow your business?
Ooh, like if I was brand new right now,
yeah,
knowing what I know, I would get coaching right away. And I would start networking right away. Like get involved in a networking group like a BNI or something like that, where I would be forced to kind of work on my elevator speeches, my it's kind of like being able to verbalize the benefits of working with me, or be able to verbalize my knowledge about real estate quickly and easily to others. I think those are great ways to practice sharpening your skills. But there's some great coaching programs out there that can just help you shave years off of your journey and have you be a lot more effective. I figured out a lot of what I do on my own, and it took a lot longer.
I love it. Those are huge, right? Like, I feel like that's true. Like, when you don't have a mentor, I don't think I really had a good mentor. I would just read books and things of that nature. Like, in that situation, it takes you years of experimenting and wasting a lot of money on things that probably are not the most effective ways of doing things. But if you have a mentor that's able to really help you and kind of coach you along the way, rather than it taking potentially a few years to get everything going and just cruising and killing it, you could shave off a good year and a half, or who knows more. But that's a good one. Then networking, obviously, it's all about who you know and building relationships. And so I love those two. That's awesome. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Cale, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insight. And it's been a blast just kind of talking about the market a bit. We appreciate everyone that jumped on. Autumn, Gloria, Ernie, Stephen, Bridget, thank you so much, guys. Everyone for tuning in. And we'll see you next week, Tuesday. And again, Cale, you rock. You're the best.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. We'll do this again.
Awesome. Okay. Bye.
Bye.